Welcome, everyone, to today's deep dive. Before we step into the material, I want to take a brief moment to offer a blessing for your day and for your week ahead. May your path be clear, may your work be fruitful, and may you find, moments of profound peace and clarity in whatever challenge you're facing right now. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, it's really a joy to be here. And the narrative we're digging into today, it has incredibly high stakes.
It really does. So, for this deep dive, our mission is to unpack a really tense, high stakes biblical negotiation found in the 32nd chapter of Numbers.
Right, and we're relying on some excellent sources today, specifically the study notes from the Holman and NAA study Bibles.
Exactly. And the hook here is that this is a conflict that almost tore an ancient nation apart before it even reached its destination. It is a classic clash between personal prosperity and community obligation.
Oh, absolutely. It's the kind of conflict that feels very modern, actually.
It really does. And so if you are navigating a tricky workplace negotiation right now or, trying to manage complicated family dynamics, you're going to want to pay close attention. This ancient text offers an absolute masterclass in conflict resolution.
And finding common ground, not to mention dealing with the heavy weight of historical trauma.
Right. So let's lay out the situation. We have the tribes of Reuben and Gad, and they have a massive, just overwhelming amount of livestock.
Yeah, we're talking about an entire economy based on cattle and sheep here.
Exactly. And they look at the lands they are currently standing in these regions called Jazer and Gilead, which are located in the Transjordan region, so that's east of the Jordan River. And they realize this place is an absolute paradise for cattle.
Calling it a paradise is, it's barely an exaggeration. The geographical data from our sources is fascinating here.
Oh, right. The elevation makes a huge difference.
Yeah, this area features these high mountain plateaus reaching like 762 meters.
Yeah, that's really high up.
It is. And because of that, you get incredibly fertile land. And obviously, to support that much livestock, you need water.
Right, which they had.
Tons of it.
Right.
They had an ample water supply from major rivers, the Jarmuk, the Jabesh, and the Jabbok rivers. So to these herders, it's just the perfect place to settle down.
So they make this very calculated pitch. The leaders of Reuben and Gad, they go up to Moses, Eleazar the priest, and the congregation's chiefs. And they essentially propose, hey, don't make us cross the Jordan River.
Yeah, just let us stay here and take this land as our possession.
Which, okay, I was thinking about this. It's like, imagine you're part of a team working on a massive, grueling startup launch, right? You've been grinding for years.
So the burnout would be real.
Exactly. And right before the product goes live, two key departments come in and ask if they can just take their bonuses early and permanently work from home just because they found a really nice office space.
That is a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Because it makes perfect logical sense for those two departments, right?
Right. But it completely threatens the morale and the success of the many.
And that leads directly to the question of how leadership respond to that kind of request. Because Moses, well, he does not take this well.
No, he really doesn't. He has an absolute meltdown.
He is furious and shocked.
He immediately accuses them of treason. He just snaps back with, shall your brothers go to war while you sit here?
Which is such a cutting response. But we have to unpack why Moses reacts so explosively here.
It's not just about losing the fighting men, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, the military disadvantage is huge, but it's really about trauma.
Generational trauma.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Moses explicitly compares their request to the disastrous events that happened in Kadesh Barnea and the Valley of Eshcol from a full generation ago.
Right. Our sources draw a really clear parallel here. Can you walk us through that historical context?
Sure. So back then, 40 years prior, spies were sent into the Promised Land, and they came back and completely discouraged the Israelites from entering. They were terrified.
Right. The reports of giants and walled cities.
Yeah. And that panic ignited God's wrath, which resulted in the entire adult generation, except for Caleb and Joshua, wandering and dying in the wilderness for 40 years.
A 40-year funeral march, basically.
Basically, yeah. So Moses sees Reuben and Gad's request, and he is terrified that they are, quote, discouraging the hearts of the people all over again. He thinks history is repeating itself.
But I want to push back on Moses a bit here.
Oh, sure.
I mean, is Moses just projecting his past trauma onto a simple real estate request? Or did Reuben and Gad genuinely intend to abandon the rest of Israel before Moses called them out on it?
That's a really great question. And our sources suggest that Moses perceived their request as a direct act of rebellion against God's promises.
So to Moses, it was a deeply selfish move regardless of their intent.
Exactly. For Moses, in the ancient Near East, geographical separation literally represented a spiritual and communal abandonment. You couldn't just separate the land from the divine promise.
Right, the optics were just terrible.
They really were.
So Moses completely blows up at them. But Reuben and Gad, they actually de-escalate the situation really well here.
They do. They don't argue with him.
No, they don't say you're overreacting. Instead, they pivot and propose this radical compromise. It's the ultimate counteroffer.
And the terms of this offer are just, well, they're intense.
They say, look, we are going to build sheepfolds here for our massive flocks, and we'll build fortified cities, or as one study note translates it, small villages, to protect our children and wives.
But the men promise to arm themselves and act as the vanguard.
The shock troops.
Yes, the frontline shock troops. They vow to go ahead of the rest of the Israelites directly into Canaan.
And the extremity of this vow is just staggering.
Oh, completely. They promise not to return to their homes on the east side of the Jordan until every single Israelite has taken possession of their inheritance.
Which means years of fighting. I mean, if you think about it, just imagine the sheer level of commitment it takes to leave your family behind in a newly conquered territory.
Right, a territory surrounded by potential enemies.
Yeah. And you go off to fight someone else's battles for years just to prove your loyalty to the community. It is the ultimate lesson in backing up your requests with serious skin in the game.
It really neutralizes Moses' fear of abandonment. But Moses doesn't just say, okay, cool, sounds good.
No, he gives them an ultimatum. He accepts the deal, but with incredibly strict, legally binding conditions.
He essentially says, if you do this, you will be free of obligation to the Lord in Israel. The land is yours.
But then he drops this chilling warning from the text.
He says, but if you fail to do this, you will be sinning against the Lord, and you may be sure that your sin will find you out.
Be sure your sin will find you out. That's a heavy threat.
Oh, it is. The sources help synthesize this. Moses is making Yahweh the ultimate guarantor and enforcer of this treaty. It's a classic suzerain-vassal treaty dynamic.
So if they break the deal, they aren't just breaking a promise to Moses, they are inviting divine wrath.
Exactly. And this isn't just a handshake deal in a tent somewhere.
No, Moses makes it extremely official. He orders Eleazar, Joshua, and the tribal heads to supervise this agreement. He turns it into a formal religious and political assembly.
So it's ratified publicly. And immediately after that, the building phase begins.
Right, they have to get those cities built fast.
Oh.
What do the sources say about the construction?
Well, Gad gets to work and builds and fortifies cities like Jazer, Dibon, Adaroth, and Eror.
And Reuben is building too.
Yeah, Reuben builds Heshbon, which was actually the former Amorite capital.
Oh, wow, taking over the capital.
Yeah, and they also build Elali, Kiriathaim, Nebo, and Balmeon. But there's a really specific detail here about some of those names.
Right, they specifically changed the names of some of the cities they rebuilt, didn't they?
Yes, they did that to erase the old idolatrous associations.
Because Nebo and Baal were rival gods.
Exactly. You can't claim a territory for Yahweh while living in a city named after the Canaanite storm god.
Yeah.
It was a theological rebranding of the landscape.
That makes a lot of sense. So they're building, they're renaming, everything seems settled. But then the text throws us a massive surprise guest.
The half-tribe of Manasseh.
Suddenly, out of nowhere, the half-tribe of Manasseh is included in this land grant.
It's such a fascinating anomaly because they weren't part of the initial tense debate at all.
Right. So where did they come from? Why are they getting land?
Well, the study notes explain this twist really well. The clans of Manasseh, specifically Mashir, Jair, and Noba, apparently went on their own independent military campaign.
Like a rogue side quest.
Pretty much. They conquered the Amorites in Gilead and Bashan on their own initiative. They took villages and renamed them, like Havoth-Jair and Noba.
But why didn't Moses freak out at them like he did with Reuben and Gad?
Because of the geography. The sources suggest that the northern part of Gilead, which Manasseh conquered, actually fell within the officially recognized borders of Canaan.
Oh, so their settlement wasn't viewed as a retreat at all.
Right. It was far less controversial. They were expanding the borders, not asking to stay outside of them.
That is such an important nuance. So synthesizing all of this, we start with a moment that could have completely fractured a nation.
A total disaster.
Yeah. But instead, it resulted in an absolute masterclass of compromise. Reuben and Gad got their perfect pastures, but they only got them by voluntarily taking on the heaviest burden of the upcoming war.
It's an amazing resolution, but, there's one final provocative thought from the sources I want to leave you with, something to mull over.
Oh, I know what you're going to say, and it completely shifts the perspective on this.
It really does. While the text understandably focuses on the men going off to fight as these heroic shock troops, we have to consider the incredible burden placed on the women, the children, and the elderly who were left behind in the Transjordan.
Because they didn't just get to sit back and relax.
Not at all. They had to build, maintain, and defend these new fortified cities entirely on their own.
In a freshly conquered, hostile territory.
Yes. All while managing massive herds of livestock and while their entire army was away fighting across the river for years.
It totally reframes that perfect real estate deal. It wasn't just the soldier sacrificing. This was a scenario that required massive sacrifice from the entire family unit.
Absolutely. The men took the vanguard, but the families held the frontier.
That is just incredible to think about, the quiet weight of those historical decisions. Well, thank you so much to everyone for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a great discussion.
It really has. Until next time, God blesses all the listeners.